this has been an eventful day and an eventful week. So we have um, a fascinating scenario. What we have is interesting. We have an encoder that's not properly working. It says that. Oh, now it is. Okay, sorry about that. I was looking at. There is a delay, and all right, there was a delay. Now there's not that problem anymore. Hey everybody, welcome to Zenny 62 on a special Friday night edition. I said I was going to make a live stream tonight. Originally, before this morning's news, it was going to be a you know a a playoff preview, but then of course this contract news came about, and it was like, wow, all right. So this is a discussion of sorts, not a long one, maybe about 30 minutes to an hour. It's Friday night, but is it smart or is it dumb? I want to know what you have to say. Ken Ha, how you doing? He says it's smart. The goat says hi. Eric Moreno says, ask me, do I think the Bucks will make the playoffs next year? That depends on the defensive coordinator. They need to make a change in defensive coordinator. Pedro Gallardo, how you doing? Nice to see you. Pedro, smart or dumb? The Gruden contract is $10 million for 10 years. Too much money. $100 million. Smart or dumb? And what about you, the goat? What do you say, Eric Moreno? We're talking Raiders right now. I'll address your Bucks in a little bit, but I got to ask a question. Smart or dumb? Eric says, in between, we'll see. Okay, so having said that, I'll answer your question. I have nothing personally against Mike Smith, who was the former coach of the Atlanta Falcons, but his defensive schemes are outdated, and his way of using a too wide set four-man front on the pass rush is not effective. I can go on and on and on about what Mike Smith is not doing. For example, he's playing Vernon Hargreaves as a zone corner when Vernon Hargreaves could easily play bump and run man and get away with it. We could go on with that. So anyway, Desmond says the Jon Gruden deal was horrible. Crawford, how you doing? Crawford says if they think the NFL owners hate Mark Davis, then this contract, they will hate him now. I agree. Bernard says he's in between. He won't know until we see the team next season. Diggin' Doe says, how do I feel about the deal? I'll get to that in a second. Aaron Marino says, Jack Del Rio is Bucks defensive coordinator. He would be good. I think he would. I think Coach Del Rio, provided he didn't bring the Seattle Jazz with him, would be just fine. And I did say it just like that. And Joe Bostizo says it doesn't affect our cap. Is that right? Bernard, nice to see you all. Nice to see everybody here. Now, Eric Moreno says he's hearing that it was going to happen. I certainly hope so. It'd be a great move for him. He'd be closer to his son, and I think so. Eric Guerrero says that Gruden is worth it. Rick Rice says, I'm the man, you the man. And so Pedro Gallardo says, that he's not familiar with coaching contracts. How does Gruden's compare to the rest? Well, that's a good question. In fact, let me get that here. All right. Average. That's a very good question. NFL head coach salary. How's that? All right. According to a search for average NFL head coach salary, what comes up on Google, or should come up in a few seconds, is this. And the average coach on the Forbes list made nearly $7 million a year. So this is not as outrageous as it sounds because it's $10 million. This was as of May 22nd of 2013, I might add. Is Jon Gruden even a top 10 coach? No, he's not. Now, the highest paid coaches, and that's the highest paid coaches in sport. The Forbes publication put out a list of the highest paid coaches in all of sport in 2013. I'm going to read to you what that is as soon as it finishes opening. Now, to answer your article, your question about what I think of it is I have different perspectives. My first perspective is that from an on the field view, it's a bad deal. He's not worth that much. Off the field, it's great. Why? Because Jon Gruden is the only coach in NFL history to be the product of a buyable meme, Chucky. And if Mark Davis is smart, he'll have his Chucky dolls made. If he sells 250,000 Chucky dolls this year alone, that alone at $40 a pop is $10 million. That pays Gruden's contract. You can keep on stepping. I'm not saying he needs to do that to pay Gruden's contract. I'm, being partially facetious, all right? But, okay. So we have this gallery of highest paid coaches in sport. And we had, let's see here, there were only 2 from football at the time. This is old. And at that time, the average was 7 million, okay, at that time. Let me see if I can get something that's a bit more contemporary, because after all, this is 2018, that's more than 5 years ago, right? The complete list of, there's another one here, NFL head coaching salary. Nick Saban, apparently according to this, is making 11 million a year. So Jon Gruden is making $1 million less than Nick Saban at Alabama. And that's incredible. I didn't know Nick Saban was not. Wow, I didn't know Nick Saban was making that much money. But at any rate, okay, here's the list. You've got Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks, is making $8 million. Sean Payton is also making $8 million. Bill Belichick is $7.5 million. Andy Reid is $7.5 million as well. John Harbaugh is $7 million. Mike Tomlin is $7 million. Mike McCarthy is $6 million. Jason Garrett, $6 million. Bruce Arians, $6 million. Jay Gruden, $5 million. Bill O'Brien, the Houston Texans, came in at $5 million. Chuck Pagano, since fired, $4.5 million. Dan Quinn, the Falcons, is $4.5 million. Marvin Lewis of the Bengals is $4.5 million. John Fox of the Bears was making $4.25 million. Mike Zimmer of the Vikings, $4 million. Ron Rivera of the Panthers, also $4 million, as is true for Todd Bowles. Jim Caldwell, who was fired. Jack Del Rio came up the low end at $3.5 million, and I don't have numbers for the other coaches, specifically Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Vance Joseph, Anthony Lynn, Doug Marrone, Doug Peterson, Ben McAdoo, who's fired, Adam Gase, Mike Mularkey, Hugh Jackson, and Dirk Carter. All right. So, but the high end right now is Pete Carroll at $8 million. Now, I don't know if this is without incentives or if these include any incentives whatsoever. I would think so. Like, for example, winning a Super Bowl, right? And so we have to ask if the contract that Mark is offering Jon Gruden is with or without incentives. And so we've got Barry Lee, how are you? Joseph Binsman, how are you? Thomas Beltran says, Mark better save his pennies to bridge that gap in Vegas. Rick Rice says, 10 years is a joke. Who does that? Mark Davis gets too excited. There is something correct about what you just said. Bernard543 says, huge gamble for Mark Davis, but it pays off. Crawford says, viewers, over under on how many years Gruden will last. The median is at 5. I will give him, given all things considered, look, if he doesn't win, I'll give him 3, okay? Because look at what Davis did with Del Rio's contract. Just, 7 months ago, he announced he'd signed Jack Del Rio to a brand new contract, and he was really happy. He tore up the old one, gave him a new one, right? Now get this, okay? Get this. The Raiders have to cough up $20 million in the buyout. So it's not just $10 million. That's right. It's not just $10 million that the Raiders have to pay Gruden. They have to pay Del Rio $20 million. You understand what I'm getting at? Let me tweet that out, okay? Because that's not known. I'm going to say, hey, Raider Nation. Oakland Raiders owe Jack Del Rio $20 million in addition to the $10 million proposed to pay Jon Gruden this season. Hashtag Raiders, and of course Oakland Raider website, and of course hashtag NFL. All right, now all I need there is a suitable image, to put up on my tweet that is either of Del Rio or Gruden or whatever, right? But that's a lot of money. It's $30 million the Raiders have to cough up, all right? $30 million. Now, Desmond asked how much will his coaching staff get. That number I don't know. But I don't know that number at all. So nothing's been announced. I mean, there have been numbers bandied back and forth, but who knows who he's going to bring in and how much they're going to want. Just because he's getting $10 million doesn't mean that he's going to turn around, or the Raiders are going to turn around and give his coaching staff equally exorbitant salaries, okay? So I wouldn't bet on that. And so, let's see. Is Mark Davis spending money too fast, or what? Okay, so there. Tweeted it out. It says, "Hey Raider Nation, Oakland Raiders owe Jack Del Rio $20 million in addition to the $10 million proposed to pay Gruden this season. Is Mark Davis spending money too fast, or what?" So there you are. All right. Now, hey Juan Ramirez, how are you? And Rick Rice says 10 years is I got that one. Okay. Bernard says, who's gamble for Davis, but if it pays off? Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, it's going to pay off monetarily off field. There'll be a dramatic increase in demand for luxury boxes and season tickets. And so the Raiders can skate by even if Gruden goes 6-10, because you're going to have coaches lining up to get their Jon Gruden scalp. Every coach in the NFL that's on the Raiders schedule is going to want to prove that they're worth more than the $10 million guy. So he's got a giant target on his back already. And so Thomas Beltran says, Mark Better got that one. And Mario says, Dirk is $5 million. $5 million a year? Okay, thanks. Team Sheeta says, only 7 games again in the black hole, shaking my head. And Eric Madison says, the way the Raiders are spending the money, I wonder how Bank of America is thinking with their $850 million loan. It's a great question. Well, it's a fantastic question. Sentiment Play says, Paul Gunther, if we get him, that's a win. How is Paul Gunther a win when his Bengals defense was only, 26th in the league? That is not a win. And I'm going to say something. Just because a person names someone, don't just rubber stamp them as being the one. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. Don't you? This is the internet age. Don't you know how to use a computer and do research? I had some stupid idiot try to leave a blog post today. I did not approve it. Around my video about Jon Gruden holding a fundraiser for Avis Davidson, saying, well, I can't see this in any other publications. You mean the person couldn't type Jon Gruden and Avis Davidson and see the coverage? Woohoo! Woohoo! You know what I mean? If you don't know how to use the internet, learn. This is crazy stuff, okay? All you have to, all right. Desmond Davis says, I'm hearing the top assistant will get $3 million a year. That's average. So okay, that's standard. I mean, you have what, a number of Alabama assistants getting $2 million, offensive coordinator gets $2 million a year. We're at a point where a number of college programs pay coaches what NFL coaches get or more. David Shaw at Stanford got what? I think he gets an average of $3.5 million already. That's at Stanford. So, and Barry Lee says, any update on the Forever Oakland probe into a possible lawsuit? Hey, ask Forever Oakland. I don't know. I have not heard from them. They're still dormant. If you want, look, as far as I'm concerned, all the action's in St. Louis. There you go. Thomas Beltran says, what a joke. Only Davis would make a business deal like this. He could not even run the Raider image. Sad. Team Cheetah said, only 7 games in the black hole. I got that one. Team Cheetah says, London? Yes. Eric Madison says, I think Todd Bowles would have been a much better defensive coordinator. I think so, too. Crawford says, LeBron fans on the internet are the worst. Oh, God. I'm trying to figure this one out. Hey, Dixon, Mr. Dixon. How are you? Mr. Dixon says, Mark is not a billionaire. Wanted ingress and egress. Not have enough money to build in Oakland, but have $100 million for a coach. Rick Rice says, Zinni's new word of the week, rubber stamp. Thank you. Ron Ramirez says, hey, Raider Flea, how are you? Juan Ramirez says, I wonder how much of a ticket price increase would occur in Oakland. Very good question. Barry Lee says, the NFL has an even bigger problem with the ratings being lower than last season, so how do they think Vegas will solve that or even help? Well, I don't think that's it, but I do believe that Mark Davis is hedging his bets about the stadium by getting Gruden on now, because getting Jon Gruden isn't like building a new stadium, but he will definitely have a positive impact on franchise value. You can't normally say that about a head coach, all right? By the way, speaking of salaries, Kevin Sumlin is rumored to be headed to Arizona. They'll pay him $7 million a year. Rick Rice says, hopefully Gruden can put together an all-star coaching staff. Well, right now he's just putting together some white guys he knows. All right, and that's not being racist. That's being race conscious. You can't be race conscious and not point out the problem that got us to where the Rooney Rule is necessary, okay? So do I see that, Greg Olson, think about it, Greg Olson was here. So he wants to so Gruden is talking about bringing Greg Olson, who's the quarterback's coach in the Rams, back to be offensive coordinator again? Why not Harold Goodwin? Harold Goodwin was coach, offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals did first in the NFL in offense in 2015, 9th in the offense in 2016, 23rd this year because Carson Palmer is, injured for much of the season. And, now, of course, he's available. Why doesn't Gruden name him? And he's black, okay? So my point is, Gruden is naming people he's comfortable with. Gruden knows the West Coast offense, arguably better than Gruden does. So, I have problems with how Jon is handling this. And I wonder if he can really stand, and I'm just thinking out loud, I'm wondering if his ego can really stand having a truly great assistant coach who might disagree with him, okay, but has a better idea. If you want to judge how a person should select or build their coaching staff, it should always be with people who they regard as smarter than themselves. They can't do that. That's a disaster, all right? So it's a complete disaster. Now, Rick Rice says something about True Bernard. Bernard says, don't matter who the coordinator is, Gooden is calling the plays. It's not calling the plays. It's designing the plays, okay? It's designing them. And, again, look, you want to know what the fundamental change in football has been since Gruden has been out? I mean, there's 2 primary ones. The first one is obvious. The athletes are even faster and stronger. That's the first one, particularly on defense. The second one is very subtle. In the past, we used to refer to it like a weird formation, like a play, right? You'd have one special play out of a weird formation. But today, in the internet age, instead of having one play formation that's weird, you have a whole package of plays, an offense unto itself. Rick Rice, you know what I'm talking about. The run and shoot was the forerunner of what I'm talking about. But now we've got, my God, we've got the run and shoot. We've got the spread read option. We have the spread read option 4x1, 3x1. And instead of my naming just a formation, each formation comes with at least 50 plays attached to it. 50. That's an offense unto itself. We didn't have that kind of diversity of offense. Most of it created at the college and high school level then that we have today. Okay? So Spider 2 wide banana is now a guy some people standing on the sidelines holding up a picture of a spider and a picture of a banana helping to run a no-huddle offense. It's a fundamentally different way of thinking about offensive football than Jon Gruden knows. That's the problem that I have with just getting a name and expecting the on-the-field contributions to be so great without this person having even stepped on the field. That's the issue I have, among others. So, Deegan Joe says, no more quarterback coaches as offensive coordinator. Raider Fleece says, Greg Olson shaking my head. I agree. And let's see here. Joseph Benjamin says, so Mike Boyd, where's Mike Boyd? Mike Boyd is new, so I would think that Mike Boyd is someone. Mike Boyd, I don't care what color you are, okay? But if you are someone who's been here before and you're using a new name, I'm going to block you. I'm just letting you know that. Or just ignore you, okay? All right? So I'm just letting you know, if you come here with that, you're not going to last long, okay? But if you can have a structured conversation, cool. But I don't have time, and I'm not putting up with it. So anyway, moving along. The GOAT says the Belichick could go anywhere he wants to coach. Correct. Why did I say Spider 2 wide banana? Barry Lisa, who would Gruden look for a defensive coordinator to improve our defense? Well, they're talking about Paul Guenther, and that's why I got pissed off, because he might know Paul Guenther, but Paul Guenther didn't do a great job with the Bengals defense. People just said, oh, he's great because Gruden named him. That's just how that's how lunatic this thing is, So Harry Floyd says, hey Zinni, how you doing? He says, can you say hi to my son Ryan? Oh, hey Ryan, how are you? Nice to meet you, Ryan. It's wonderful to have you on. Thank you. Pedro Glauer says, Gannon should help Carr. Carr's nice. Gannon took away the video games in the lunchroom. No, you know who I think the best quarterback coach would be, the guy that I think Jon Gruden should really call, is Tony Franklin. Tony Franklin, the man who built Jared Goff. Tony Franklin, who designed the Cal offense that was record-setting. Tony Franklin, who went off to, Middle Tennessee State, I think it was, and was forgotten. And yet beat big teams down there. That Tony Franklin. So, who has a really unique approach to football. If you call Tony Franklin, you're serious about winning. Just saying. He's not going to be your friend, but he's a football smart guy. And that's what you want. So, let's see here. Got, let's see here. Oh, I think, okay. Oh, wait a minute. I don't feel I want to deal with that one either. Thank you, Barry Lee. Okay, now, Joe Gonzalez says, will McKenzie have input in the hiring? Oh, yes, he would. Eric Madison says, well, under first stint with the Raiders, Gruden had the most penalized team. Is Eric Madison saying this? Rick Rice says, they are the perfect amount of black coaches. Supply has met demand. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the truth. I disagree, Rick Rice. Donis says, Tony Franklin, who? Bernard says, that was 90 years ago, D. Dixon. Well, by the way, to claim that you're black, not so your face, I mean, just being honest, okay? Not make a video and talk about this and then say there's a perfect amount of black coaches would you say that to your son or daughter? if they were facing discrimination, you saying, well, oh, there's enough black folks. You don't need to excel. If you would allow a world where you would say that to your offspring, you are a lousy parent, okay? I mean, to say the least. I mean, to even let that come out of somebody's mouth is unthinkable. Unthinkable, all right? Hennessy says the Raiders just gave a 4-year extension to Jack last season, all right? And now they have to eat the contract. Right, $20 million. And now they have a 10-year contract. I believe Gruden is going to last 3 to 4 years, and then he's gone. Desmond Davis says Andy Reid is a better offensive coach than Gruden. Andy Reid is brilliant, okay? And he says Reid doesn't call his plays. It's the design. See, play calling is one thing. You can call plays and call the wishbone, but it's how you design the play that sets the winners apart from the losers. Andy Reid brilliantly carved in elements of the read option into the Kansas City Chiefs offense and produced an approach that's fascinating and difficult to stop. So did Doug Peterson at Philadelphia. No surprise, Peterson worked for Reid. Think about it. Now, you would say, hey, didn't Jon Gruden work for Andy Reid? Yeah, but that was a while ago, not recent. It's going to be fascinating. Here's the other part to consider, however, and that Jay Gruden, who I like, Jon Gruden's brother, I like Jon too, admitted to me at the NFL annual meeting that college and high school approaches are ahead of the NFL, and that's where the innovation's coming from. So if his brother's thinking that way, hopefully Jon is thinking that way. If Jon's thinking that way, we're going to get a new offense. Finger crossed, okay? I have faith in God, not people. We could just, okay, I don't have faith this is the current. I'm just saying, I hope that's the case. I doubt it. I don't know. I have to ask Coach Gruden. I have sent emails. I haven't got it back yet. Now, so Go CSU Rams says answering to the title is very, very dumb. Mark Davis doesn't know how to control money. Bertrand says we are for sure getting a new type of offense. We don't know that. Okay. Well, wait a minute. We are getting a new type of offense. Yeah, you're right. Versus what we landed last year, we're definitely getting a different offense. But it's not new to the NFL. Okay. That is my concern. Okay. Someplace it's fair to say that the Raiders are living a dream and not a reality. Okay. Rick Wright says, I teach my children that life isn't always fair, and sometimes you have to work hard than the others to get what you want. I don't teach them things will come for them for free. But wait a minute. Hold on a second. What do you tell them when they work hard and they're still facing discrimination? Okay? I don't want to have that conversation here because it's not fair to anybody else. But don't shortchange your kids. All right? Don't teach them just to work hard. If you can't talk about how to deal with racism to your kids, you're not raising your kids right. You're not. If you can't tell them how to watch out for it, how to address it, what to do, then you yourself are cheating your kids, and you know it. All right? That's a conversation every parent has. Police and everything else. Don't tell me that's not the case. You know it's the case. Absolutely. Okay? And I say that with love and respect, but you know that I'm right. You don't cheat your kids like that at all. Jimmy T says Mark Davis was smart in this regard. He found this guy, identified his guy, pursued his guy, and got his guy. That's true. Jimmy T, I think you're absolutely right there, okay? Eres Call says Gunther took over play calling. Yeah, 22nd overall. That's my point. 27th overall. Thanks, Eris. That's my point. You know? He didn't post a top 10 defense. So what everybody learning about Paul Gunther for? Ooh, Paul Gunther is an exercise in mediocrity. Give me a break, okay? So, no. Those are the difference in ranks. You put out the scoring stuff. Forget it. I'm looking at overall. Overall. Because that's what gets you into the playoffs. Jacksonville was the number one. Then the Vikings, I think, were trading places most of the season, okay? So, Dixon said, did McKenzie turn down the Green Bay job? I think he was with Green Bay. Alan Morales says, who should be the defensive coordinator? Defensive coordinator, I like, who I like as defensive coordinator is, Well, he's actually coaching the Jets right now. He's not going to be available. Todd Bowles is stuck there, but and the other guy's coaching the national championship for Alabama, and that's Mel Tucker is the other guy that I like. So I'm trying to find somebody who might not be available. Let me see something because of the Cardinals. Let's see what's going on with the Cardinals. The Cardinals didn't do well defensively. Um, Robert says you must be very excited to get Gruden. Good luck. I am, but it's tempered. Octavio says defense drives on talent, offense drives on game plan. No, defense drives on game plan too, Octavio. Don't fool yourself. Hey, tell that to Buddy Ryan when he developed 46. Settlement Place says, I believe Paul Gunther would be good because of what John Pagano did with our defense at the end with little experience. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, you only believe Gunther would be good because admit it because you heard of him because of Gruden. That's the extent of it. Okay, so no, and now which happens is that in order to fit an emotional desire, you create a straw person intellectual argument, but it's weak because he has no good track record. Come on. Joe Rubio says, who do you believe would be the best coach for the Raiders? I believe the best coach for the Raiders would be Kevin Sumlin of Texas, who ran the Texas A&M program. I really do. On the field. Off the field, Jon Gruden brings a different dimension. And that's why it's exciting. I'm not going to come off that. It's, again, I said this in my book. I said this in my video earlier, and I'll say it again. If you want to understand how to think differently about different and Rick Rice, I agree about teach your kids to excel against all obstacles, all right? But telling them or anybody that, oh, there's like, enough black people and don't go for something, that's what you said. And I was thinking, you never let that into your mind, ever, okay, ever. So that's because that's the problem. But my point is getting back to this other issue. As Thomas Beltran says, that's right, you school them. My point is this, okay? As far as Gruden, off the field, he gives a dimension that no coach offers. Look, Kevin Sumlin's a quiet guy. He's a professional. You're not going to get people asking for Kevin Sumlin dolls, right? There's that extra added dimension that Gruden brings that guarantees, and I did say guarantees, an increase in franchise value for the Raiders. More so than any other team because his mystique started with the Raiders, all right? Started, okay? So, Darth Vader says, duck Gruden, get Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson for offensive coordinator. Dixon says, Summer of Texas, A&M, no way. Summer of Texas? I didn't say Charlie. You mean the defensive coordinator for Texas? I didn't say that. Who did? No. Who said that? Who said that? I didn't. I'm looking for that one. No. Not at all. Hennessy says, you pay your QB $125 million, the most expensive O-line, now $100 million to Gruden, and that relocation fees. Mark is going to want a max deal, $100 million plus, but don't have money for a stadium in Oakland. And Hennessy, that, you know what? That hits on it. You know the problem? You hit on it, Rick Rice hit on it, a number of others at various times. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it tonight. Mark Davis is surrounded by yes people. People are afraid to tell Mark Davis no. I mean, these are people that are close to him. They're afraid to just say, hey, you know what? You shouldn't do this. Do that. And then if there's that one person that does say, oh, you know what? You shouldn't do this. Somebody else will say, oh, gee, maybe you know what? What did he respond? Was he mad? You shouldn't have told him that. It's in his best interest. Okay? And I'm talking about a lot of things. We're talking about a person who really needs guidance, who also has some health issues. As much as I'll say right now, but he has some health issues, and they're new. And he needs to take care of them, but he's got to listen to people, and he has to have people around him who make him listen. And I'm talking about Mark Davis. I'm talking about the owner of the Raiders. Okay? So, there you go. Okay? Hey, Alan, thank you for the subscription. Thank you. Octavia says, but Gruden should design the offense. Yes, I do agree with that one. Let's see here. Uh, let's see. Rob Iman. Hey, Rob, how you doing? And thank you very much, Barry Lee. Dixon says, Mark has to play Max soon. Yep. Um, Mike Boyd asked, do you believe Jon Gruden is the right coach of the Raiders, Zinni? I believe Jon Gruden is the right overall because of the dimension that he brings to the franchise value of the team off field. The Raider image that he brings. From that standpoint, he's the best. Okay? So he is absolutely the best. On the field, I'm going to be honest with you. Gruden could lose 6 games, you know, 10-6 record, 7 games, 9-7, which I think is probably more realistic, and the Raiders would still come out smelling like a rose from a revenue standpoint. The more wins he adds beyond 9-7, the more the deal is better for the team and for the region. This is a great win for Oakland. Right now, forget Vegas, forget the future, because the Raiders aren't going anywhere for a while. Maybe 2022, okay, the way things are going. But I'm telling you, right now, it's great for Oakland because it means that, once again, the spotlight will be on the city. There'll be an energy and excitement, right? I mean, this is the next best thing to getting a new stadium. But I'm being candid about the expectations. Okay, because he's not. Again, this is not a person who can wave a magic wand and conjure up a win. He can't do it. Okay, and remember, his worst bedside manner grated on players. They stopped listening to him and they stopped performing. We have, and this is going to be the greatest experiment of all. To what extent has Jon Gruden grown up as a person? To where he doesn't have to yell and scream at people and get into shouting matches with folks on the sidelines because they're black and demonstrative and he has some sort of issue about that. There's some people who do. There's some people who do. And so rather than just letting them be who they are, they have to, like, you know, make an example of them. In fact, I think that was Mike Singletary's downfall. You can do that as an assistant, but as a head coach, you have to focus on being an administrator. You can't go off and, you know, deal with Vernon Davis. It may be something fun for the public or the press, but the 49ers didn't go to the playoffs that year. Okay? So if Gruden can be less that person and be more an administrator, a cool head, and a smart guy, it's a win-win for everybody. So Dixon says Gruden will not yell at beast mode. No. And Del Rio handled that really well. Bernard says Gruden would have took the job if players he wanted weren't already there. Octavio says if we don't get the wins, we don't get the spotlight. But Octavio, here's my point. I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that Gruden buys us the spotlight even without 6 wins. Okay? That's the mark, 6 wins. But he buys us that in a way that no other coach does, and that's why he's great in that way. Okay? Where's Boss 2 cents on this? Boss is mad at me because I decided to patch things up with Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. She's my god sister. And that's why. And so that's his choice. But to me, if you're a friend, you don't do that sort of thing. You just say, hey, you know what? I get you. I'm your friend, right? That's what happened. Okay? I am too old to not tell the truth about things. Rick Rice says a 10-year contract is just as ridiculous. Who does that? Has anyone signed a 10-year contract? Rob Iman says, I wonder how Carl will handle Gruden's yelling. That's what I'm waiting for. Dixon says, Boss Matt is my son. He's cool. I didn't say he wasn't cool. Someone asked me what happened. I said, hey, he's mad at me. Okay? I'm not mad at him. All right? Rick Gray says, hey, Zinni, Las Vegas Stadium talk tonight? Yes. But in brief, the Stadium Authority, and I put the video up before this one, the Stadium Authority meeting agenda is up. There's no decision that's going to be made just less than a week from today. But they're going to discuss an update on the non-relocation agreement, find out where that is, among other things. Dixon says, cool with, yeah, see? Go CSU says he loved Del Rio, but now he's mad. Why are you mad at Del Rio? Del Rio got fired. Octavia says, Zinni, I'm not getting the shares reports lately. Oh, Octavia, because the last one that I sent, which was a few weeks ago, there hasn't been any update. There hasn't been an investment update beyond that. The Christmas one that I sent around there, that's why. So, I mean, I send a shares report, and if you didn't get it, I'm happy to resend it, but I send a shares report whenever there's a new investment. There hasn't been one. So, and, you know, that's just the way it is. Mike Boyd predicts that Jared Carr will be a Hall of Fame quarterback with Gruden. Robert Cordero says Barry Lee, they will move later on. Beltron says probably will never happen in Vegas. Black Lion Supreme, how are you doing? Christian Navarro says this is crazier than the time they had Seabass kick that 70-yard field goal. So Octavia, I hope that you understand. Octavia, no, I did not get that, and I'll review that. When I stop the stream, I'll go back. If you've sent something since then, I'll go back and I'll update on that basis. But I didn't see a notification, okay? So, in fact, the only PayPal I got was from a client, but I'll review that. I'm glad you brought that to my attention. Go CSU says, I was mad at him talking about Del Rio. He was still the coach, not mad at him anymore because we have another head coach. Okay. Octavio, January 2nd. I did not see that. I'll go back and I'll make that correction. Thank you very much. And I'll send the update. Thank you for telling me. Eric Madison says, and saw a headline from your favorite Las Vegas newspaper that said the Raiders got a bargain on land. Yeah, I saw that. And we talked about that the other night where I said, hey, you know what? It could be a scenario where Raiders wind up staying here and as a gift to Las Vegas doing their training, you know, in Henderson. Could happen. So, training camp. And so, you got it. Octavio, no, thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. Thanks for doing your work, Barry. Who am I missing here? It is 11:11, which is 12:11. And I say that because Dixon, the Raiders do belong in Oakland. I quite agree. Okay, so on balance, Rick Rice says Harry and the Hendersons, a great show. So on balance, everybody likes the Gruden deal, right? Big April says Oakland Raiders fans, but remember, the Raiders owe $20 million to Jack Del Rio. Big April, how you doing? He says Oakland Raiders fans, let's hope for the best in this latest coaching move. The game has changed. Can Coach Gruden change with it? Let's hope. Seven Place says, what do you think of the teams we play next year? Interesting. Albert Bedez, particularly the Cleveland Browns. Go CSU Ram says, I hope the Gruden gets us back to just winning, baby. Patrick in Blackman, how are you? Says, Gruden better walk on water. Yeah, I know. You know what? You pay me that much money, I will walk on water. October is 10 for 100 million. How much is guaranteed? Good question. I'll find out. Dixon says Raiders owe 100 million to Oakland. Yep. Actually, more than that. Court time. Black Lion Supreme says my coaching worries are over. Let's not focus on keeping now. No, Black Lion Supreme writes my coaching worries are over. I believe you mean now let's focus on keeping the team in Oakland. You wrote not let's focus on keeping the team in Oakland. Okay, I get you. Got it. Now. Okay. Duncan Corey says, do you think Jon Gruden will hire Charles Woodson as defensive backs coach? Yes. Particularly after Charles Woodson goes and gets Jon Gruden drunk on some of Charles Woodson's excellent wine. You heard it here first. Charles Woodson Winery produces a great wine. You must get a case. Okay? Or bottle. I have. Okay? Ordered online. In fact, hey, maybe I can get Charles Woodson as a sponsor. Title Place says, if Gruden stays for 2 years, do we still have to pay him the other $80 million? That's a good question. I would say no. There's an out clause there. That's just a guess. I'll find out to confirm. Eric Madison says, don't they have Rod Woodson? Yeah, but Rod, anyway. CSU disagrees. He says he wants the Raiders to stay in Oakland. Albert Valdez says they should have went after Jim Harbaugh. Hey, do you realize that we'll have the second brother act in Oakland? We had John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh. Now we'll have Jay Gruden and Jon Gruden. Okay, so we just missed that with you just missed them playing each other, right? So Rick Ray says, have you seen the webcam stadium work? Why would lenders be okay with all this work at the project so far on the red? Well, they haven't done any work. When you say the webcam with stadium work are gay, they haven't done anything. I mean, that's not a lot of work. That's not land. That's not full land prep. If you think that's full land prep, you have no idea what goes into this. All right. So Jay Black says, do you think the NFL will set Gruden up to succeed with the Raiders? No. Carver says, moving dirt still does matter. Actually, no, it doesn't. Because if I'm moving dirt to analyze soil, it means I've been analyzing soil for the past year. That's a problem. So again, what you're doing is you're trying to take an emotional argument and build what you think is an intellectual backing toward it. But stadium development is not what you guys do, or urban planning. Me. So don't bother. It's just behind schedule, and everybody knows it, and everybody knows their problems. But there are problems that even the Raiders attorneys don't want to admit to. Okay? So just accept it for what it is. It's a problematic project. That's in the red. That's it. So, and, that's it, okay? So, Rob Iman says, depends. If Carr can have another mediocre season, he'll be cut or traded. Yep. The Gaming Angel says, who's going to be the Raiders' offensive coordinator? They're talking about Greg Olson. Oh, somebody said, oh, well, explain Greg Olson at the Rams. Well, I can't. He was the quarterback coach, not the offensive coordinator. Duncan Covey says, the mysterious right here, who's going to be the linebacker coach? You know, my issue with the way Greg Olson handled the job before was he didn't have a system. He had a collection of plays in search of a strategy, in search of a logic. That was my issue with how Greg Olson handled, being offensive coordinator here the last time. All right. Richard Lucero, how you doing? He says, what's up, Zinni? How funny that Gruden is calling the wild card playoffs in Kansas City, and he's probably doing his Chucky impersonation. Wait till they get a load of me, Coach Andy Reid. That is funny, okay? Mike Boyd, Rich Gannon, no, Rich Gannon said in an interview recently he's ready to get a call, but he hasn't heard anything. Patrick and Blackman says, I'd rather see Pep Hamilton or Kevin Sumlin as offensive coordinator. Yes. Eric Madison says he was offensive coordinator with the Niners, and I don't think he did that well, Greg Olson. Rob Iman says, how do you think Gruden feels about Connor Cook as a potential backup? If I recall correctly, he said Cook had the best arm in the draft. He was drafted in it. And I would think that Jon Gruden would see Cook as someone who could step in but hasn't been groomed properly to do that. So I think he would make him a project to make that happen. Jane Black says the NFL wants Gruden and the Raiders to succeed in Vegas, especially if the organization will be moving in the red there. I haven't heard that from the NFL, Jay. When I was at the NFL annual meeting, the NFL wanted to defer all questions to the Raiders. So you're imprinting something on the NFL that, in point of fact, isn't there. The NFL wants to see the Raiders succeed, but they wanted to see the Raiders succeed in Oakland too. The whole Vegas thing is not over. It's sprung on them, and given what's happening legally, this whole thing could turn in a way that I think is quite fascinating. Bob Iman says Gruden might bring in a cerebral veteran QB coach. Eric Madison says, then what about E.J. Manuel? I think E.J. is... Why would E.J. be gone? I don't get that. E.J. Manuel's a fantastic quarterback. Why do you want to groom Connor Cook but not E.J. Manuel? Is this a black-white thing again? Okay? I mean, E.J. Manuel has a heck of an arm. He really does. I would love to have E.J. Manuel as my quarterback. His release is faster. He's more mobile, but he was in the wrong offense. Okay, so Rick Rice says, I think EJ is good backup. Cook is a busy. I have nothing against either one of them. Here's my point. What I like about EJ Manuel is that he's great in a mobile approach. Connor Cook is great in a shotgun approach, 6 yards back, not 5 yards back, because he's not as mobile. So you need to give him more room to throw. He is a better, let me put it this way, he's a better air raid quarterback. If Kevin Sumlin were the Raiders coach, I think Connor Cook would excel in a Kevin Sumlin offense over EJ Manuel. EJ Manuel excels in a Darrell Bevell Seattle Seahawks style offense. You see the difference? It's a matter of this. It's like when I go to the alley in Oakland, which I still do when I'm back in Oakland, right? Rod Dibble taught me not just, to have the courage to sing, but to understand that I can't sing every song. There's some songs that fit my voice, others don't. Similarly, there's some offensive systems that fit one quarterback versus another. That's all I'm saying. It's not that they're bad, but you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach. You have to mold your approach to the quarterback's talents and what they can do and well and not. That's it. So, like I said, Connor Cook would be an excellent air raid quarterback. Barry Lee says, someone was good head coach at A&M. They screwed up letting him go. Yes. Michael Baldino says, how much stake does Jon Gruden have in ownership? None. Go CSU says, y'all might be looking for that email. Okay, I got you. Yes, I got you. Black Lion says, Black Lion Supreme writes, Zinni, you were at the first game the Raiders played in Oakland against the Rams after they moved back to LA. The great Vince Evans, the starting QB in the preseason game. That's correct. Yes. And Rob Iman says, not about race, it's about getting a system QB for Gruden. Okay, I get you. But then you understand what I'm saying, Rob, about the fact that, each, like, Cook would be better in air raid system and so on, right? But this particular system that was ran before, I don't think so. EJ Manuel, I think, would do better with Gruden than Cook. So Thomas Beltran says they're going to get a new convention center, not a stadium. What are you talking about there? Okay, so it is 12:11. D. Dix says the O-line coach will be key. True. And I think Tom Cable will be a great hire for the offensive line if that happens. But also, I think they should have, Jon Gruden should have Harold Goodwin as his offensive coordinator and Tom Cable as his offensive line coach. That would be a Super Bowl winning combination, okay? Big April says Gruden wants a rematch with New England and Oakland. Could Bill Callahan come back? I have no idea. I have to research that. Albert says keep Tyson. I agree. That's what I'm saying. The resume proves it. The Pro Bowlers. Jay Black says, who do you think has the best offense in the NFL schematic wise? The Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles. It's adjustable. It's flexible. It does a great job of using its wide receivers to stretch the field horizontally. It gives Carson Wentz in particular tools especially designed for him. He's got that acumen, that intelligence, that additional advantage of being in that system, that kind of system, where Doug Peterson has created an approach where Wentz can fine-tune the patterns on the go. And so in a way, it's like having a no-huddle offense but you can, as you're calling the plays, you can make the adjustments in the huddle as opposed to having to get them in on the sidelines. There's still a science to that whole thing. In fact, there is. I am really, really interested in offenses that have sight reads. The receiver side sees this, you do this. And for example, in middle of the field open, middle of the field closed is a very common sight read. In other words, if you have a safety standing here, you run the corner. If you have here you run the post, right? That sort of thing. Flexible offenses like that are my favorite. Coach Walsh had that. That was still the best, but that's not current. I'd have to pick the Eagles right now. I like some of what I saw the Rams doing, but even then, I like the Eagles much better. Um, Rick Rice says Kyle Shanahan's offense is a real deal. Oh, I have. You know what? I have to take a look at the film of Shanahan's offense, um, and see. You know, I liked what I saw in preseason, but I have to admit I haven't studied film over the regular season. MM Forever says instead of the city, NFL or teams paying for these new stadiums, why aren't the networks like ESPN? You're right. That's a great question. I'll ask the league and get an answer. I did ask before and I didn't get an answer. I'll ask before. Thomas Beltran says, good night. Hey, good night, Mr. Beltran. Yeah, and good night. And so, Thomas Beltran says, my wife and I at the first game back from LA. Good time. Patrick and Blackman says, I heard good things about Harold Goodwin. Yes, please research him. Absolutely. It is 11:25, and folks, I am going to stop because I am exhausted. And I got to get ready to go to Las Vegas in a little bit too. So I think there's now all 67, 68 of you here. Thank you very much for being here. And as soon as I get out of here, I'll start working on that other stuff. Hey, I'll get some rest, Patrick. Mr. Blackman, thank you. Good night, Goat. Good night. Big Able says, bringing Mike Singletary as DC. You might have a point there. Eric Madison says, how's Lincoln Kennedy as O-line coach? Good. You know, I like Tom Cable better than Kennedy in that role, if you can get him. But I agree with keeping Mike Tice. I really do. Arias says the network's already paying for NFL salaries. He's right, Arias. Hey, good night, Barry. Good night, Mr. Black, J Black. Good night. Thank you, everybody, for being great sports. Rick Rice, everybody, you guys rock. You're the people. You're the men. Ed Reese says, chances are Raiders stay in Oakland. Yes. Malcontent, how you doing? And thanks for the emails. Rick Gray says, is Las Vegas going to be like Sacramento? Interesting. Good night, everybody. I am got to get it going. Good night. Double shares, you got it, man. I got you covered, Octavio. I got you covered. All right. Good night, everybody. Irwindale. Oh, good night. Oh, Albert, you want to how? Oh, you could invest here, right here. Oh, by the way, let's see here. Oh, yeah, Rick Rice is right. I do tend to do that. I get an idea, and next thing you know, it's like I get out like you know. I do tend to post whenever an idea comes to me. It's like, yeah, why not? But I still start, you know, hold on a second. I'm trying to get this link posted to you to answer your question on PayPal. And it should be opening up here. Let's see. There it is. And copy. And yeah. Hey, Iggy Azalea is going to be at CES. I'm going to try to get an interview with Iggy Azalea. Seriously. Okay. Right here. All right. PayPal. There it is. Okay. There. All right. There you are. Blackline says, you head sports operations. Any of the fact you're not as wiring this mess. Hey, thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. All right, folks. I'm mumbling. I'm exhausted. Good night, and remember, live long and prosper. John Marks, you got to do science fiction. I got to get that on schedule. I'm on it. All right, see you guys.